The Pittsburgh Steelers' initial 53-man roster has officially been revealed, and today on Steelers Talk, we are going to be talking about that and reacting to this a little bit surprising 53-man roster that head coach Mike Tomlin and GM Omar Khan just put out here on NFL Roster Cutdown Day. Now, just so you guys know, waiver claims go through tomorrow, Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right, so tomorrow, if the Steelers make any waiver claims or anything like that, we'll make sure to get you guys breaking news coverage. And also, if the Steelers make a trade, if they make additional roster moves, which could be on the horizon here, make sure you guys click that subscribe button, because if the con artist strikes within the next 24 hours, and we're going to talk about why I think that's likely here in just a second, make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already to never miss any breaking news action surrounding the Pittsburgh Steelers this season. So the Steelers carried 4 quarterbacks on their initial 53-man roster: Aaron Rodgers, Mason Rudolph, Skylar Thompson, and of course Will Howard. Now, Jerry Dulac of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette reported before this roster breakdown, or before the initial roster came out, that the Steelers will place rookie quarterback Will Howard, their 6th-round pick, on injured reserve at some point, though not necessarily immediately per sources. So essentially what that report means, guys, is that Will Howard will eventually go on IR, opening up a roster spot for somebody, whether that's bringing back a player that they cut, whether that's bringing in a new addition at the wide receiver position or somewhere else. All right, so that's going to open things up here for the Steelers to add somebody else to this roster, which is why I think you guys should click that subscribe button, because I think another roster move is going to be coming within the next 24 hours or so, which will be accompanied by Will Howard officially going on IR to start the 2025 season. Okay, so they'll go into the year with 3 quarterbacks. It'll be Aaron Rodgers, Mason Rudolph, and then for at least the first 4 weeks, Skylar Thompson will be the QB3. Now, after those first 4 weeks, it'll be interesting to see what the Steelers do at the quarterback position, whether they bring on Will Howard and waive Skylar Thompson, or whether they continue to keep Will Howard on IR for an extended period of time. Thompson really did play well during the preseason. I'm perfectly fine with him being the QB3 as long as the Steelers want him here. But it does appear that Will Howard will be spending at least the first 4 weeks of this season on IR, which will open up a roster spot for Omar Khan to utilize in the next 24 hours. Then you get to the running backs. The Steelers will carry 3: Jaylen Warren, Kenneth Gainwell, and Caleb Johnson, the rookie out of Iowa. I think that this makes a lot of sense. These are the 3 guys that I projected in my roster projection. And as much as I appreciate guys like Trey Sermon and Lou Nichols, I didn't think it made a whole lot of sense to carry more than 3 backs this year. Then you get to the tight ends, the same 4 that everybody has been projecting for months now. Jonnu Smith, Pat Freiermuth, Darnell Washington, and Connor Hayward are all on the team this year. Connor Hayward is listed as a tight end / fullback, so when the Steelers do go to their 2-back looks, expect Connor Hayward to be back there with whatever running back accompanies him there in the backfield. Then they will carry 5 wide receivers to go into the season: DK Metcalf, Roman Wilson, Calvin Austin III, Scotty Miller, and Ben Skoranek, who's a run-blocking specialist and a special teamer. Now, I don't want anybody to be surprised here when and if Omar Khan adds a wide receiver to this group. I do think that it's possible that they could make a move for a 6th wide receiver with that extra roster spot that's going to be coming when Will Howard eventually gets placed on injured reserve. So I want to go on a little bit of a tangent here with you guys to go over some of the options that Omar Khan could consider over the next 24 hours. We'll start with a couple of Rodgers wide receiver targets that could be available via trade: Allen Lazard and Romeo Doubs, 2 guys that used to play with Aaron Rodgers back with the Green Bay Packers, and of course Lazard played with Rodgers with the New York Jets last year. Andrew Filipponi tweeted this out yesterday, talking about what he was talking about with Nick Farabaugh, who is the reporter for the Steelers from Penn Live, and Nick said that the likeliest Steelers wide receiver trade option is still Allen Lazard. It's well known that the Jets are looking for veteran wide receiver help, and Lazard could be on the trade block. And last year with Rodgers, Lazard had 37 catches for over 500 yards. That's more than any receiver outside of DK Metcalf on the Steelers roster right now. Lazard has a lot of experience with Rodgers. He caught 6 touchdowns from him just last season. So this is certainly a possibility if the Steelers want to give up like a 7 7th-round pick for a veteran. Now, Lazard, not the best player in the world, not the best ball skills, not the best route runner, but he is a big body, 6'5", 227 pounds. He has that chemistry with Aaron Rodgers, so this is certainly a player that you still need to keep your eye on. Then when it comes to Romeo Doubs, it appears that Aaron Rodgers might be interested in bringing him here to Pittsburgh, as Bill Huber from Sports Illustrated said this yesterday. Aaron Rodgers called the Packers on Monday, one day before roster cuts. Interestingly, he asked about the status of receiver Romeo Doubs. Now, we've talked about Doubs quite a bit on this channel this offseason, guys, as a potential wide receiver target for this football team, and it certainly seems like Aaron Rodgers would like to bring back his former Packer teammate here to the Steel City. Doubs is a very good route runner. He's got a big body. He's over 200 pounds. He does have a little bit of a drop issue, and he did suffer a couple of concussions last year, which now makes him wear a Guardian cap all the time, even in games. But last season, had a pretty darn good year, but then in 2022, with Rodgers as his quarterback as a rookie, he had over 40 catches for over 400 yards and 3 touchdowns. And again, that was him as a rookie in 2022. This is somebody that Rodgers does have a little bit of a connection with, and it would not surprise me if the Steelers end up trading for Romeo Doubs at some point here to fill out that final roster spot whenever they do move Will Howard to IR. Some other trade targets that maybe aren't as likely as the guys that we've talked about before here on today's show, but Tyreek Hill, very much a dark horse. I would say that the chances of the Steelers getting him are very slim at this point. Juwan Jennings and Jacoby Myers, I think, could be perfect number 2 receivers for the Steelers, but it doesn't seem like San Francisco or Las Vegas is interested in dealing those guys. Adam Thielen seems to be on the market, but for Carolina's price tag, which, like at the trade deadline last year, is pretty steep. And then Alec Pierce, I'm not convinced that the Colts are actually shopping him. There's some people that claim that they are, but I really don't see that as a super realistic possibility, but I will mention him here. The veteran free agents that are currently out there, that have been out there for the Steelers to consider: Gabe Davis, who this team has brought in not once but twice on a free agent visit, coming off a knee injury. I think that he would be a good fit as a wide receiver 4 here in Pittsburgh. Odell Beckham Jr., he has said that he has had conversations with the Steelers this offseason and Aaron Rodgers about joining this football team, but obviously nothing has come of that as of yet. Nelson Aguilar, somebody that's a decent wide receiver 4. He's done some good things there in Baltimore the last couple of years, but he's still available. And then DJ Chark, another big body guy, another deep threat type of guy that the Steelers could consider as well. And then some notable waiver wire wide receiver targets here. Now, there's some guys on here that are veterans, like Marquez Valdes-Scantling, that would not have to be a white waiver claim. They're just a free agent. He can sign with whoever he wants. But Marquez Valdes-Scantling, somebody that's a former teammate of Aaron Rodgers. A.T. Perry is one that is very interesting to me. Trey Palmer, Zachary Smith reported earlier this offseason that Palmer was a trade target of the Steelers. The Steelers called Tampa Bay with interest in Palmer. Will Shepard is a UDFA receiver this year out of Colorado. He made some really nice catches in 50-50 situations for Shadur Sanders on that Buffalo film last year. And then Malachi Corley. Honestly, guys, this is one that's been thrown out there a lot because he was with the Rodgers last year. But he's more of a gadget piece. He's more of a true slot weapon, manufactured touch guy. And I don't think that he would address the Steelers' biggest need right now, which is somebody that can come in case DK Metcalf gets injured. Corley is not an X-wide receiver. He's not really a route runner. He's not a deep threat, or his hands are really unreliable. There's a reason why the Jets let him go, so I'll mention him here, but I don't really think that that's going to be a fit here in Pittsburgh. But I would keep a very close eye on MVS, all right? Multiple seasons with Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, very productive seasons as well. And just last year, all right, with the New Orleans Saints, he had 11 yards per target. If you guys aren't aware of what a good yards per target metric looks like, 11 yards is like top 10 in the National Football League. He was actually a pretty darn good and efficient wide receiver for Derek Carr and the New Orleans Saints last year. Caught 4 touchdowns in 8 games with them last year. And of course, he has that established chemistry with Aaron Rodgers. So if you're looking for somebody that can play that X position, if DK Metcalf goes down, I think MVS is a speed demon, as somebody with a limited talented route tree like DK Metcalf, I think that that would be a good wide receiver 4 option to bring here to Pittsburgh. But the Steelers also showed interest in Trey Palmer this offseason. He's not as big as MVS, but he's got his speed and his deep threat ability. He's a great yak threat, too. He's one of the fastest players in the entire NFL, and he's really good with his run blocking as well. Gives a lot of effort in that category. Obviously hasn't done too much in terms of the statistics in his career to this point, but had a promising rookie campaign, so you got to keep your eye out for Trey Palmer. And then another one that I'll throw out there is A.T. Perry, who just got released by the Denver Broncos. He's only really participated in practices the last 2 weeks, though. Started camp with an injury, and he never really got the chance to catch up to the rest of the roster, so he ends up getting cut. But I thought in New Orleans, guys, he's 6'5", he's a big body, he's got good ball skills, he's got really quick feet for a bigger wide receiver, has a better route tree and more extensive route tree than a guy like MVS does. So A.T. Perry is somebody that I would keep my eye on as well, because he's only 25 years old as well. So that's definitely an intriguing one as well. But if you guys want more wide receiver discussion, we did a whole dedicated video on wide receiver targets here on Steelers Talk yesterday. So if you guys want to check out some other wide receiver targets more in depth, you guys can check out that video after today's video here on Steelers Talk. So predict it for me down there in the comment section. Do you think the Pittsburgh Steelers add a wide receiver before week 1? And if so, which one do you think they add to this team? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section for today's pinned question. In just a second here, I'm going to tell you about our sponsor today at Harry's. And while I'm telling you about our sponsor today, let me know what you think is going to happen at the wide receiver position here in Pittsburgh. And with that, let's have word from our sponsor today at Harry's. And let's face it, guys, buying razors in today's market absolutely sucks. The quality products are always too expensive, and when you try to save yourself a couple of bucks, you get stuck with razors that go dull way too fast and irritate your skin. That's why I switched to Harry's, and you can get Harry's trial set today for only $8, plus you get a free gift at harrys.com/chat. With Harry's, you get a barbershop quality shave with German-engineered blades honed at 3 different angles to cut hair cleanly at the root without any tugging. But what makes Harry's the best brand that I trust is you get the quality shave without having to break the bank. Harry's owns their own factory in Germany, so there's no middlemen involved, which allows Harry's to pass down the savings to the consumer. And if you don't love your shave, Harry's will make it right, no questions asked. Their risk-free trial means there's zero downside to giving them a shot. And guys, I'm actually really glad that Harry's has decided to partner with us here at Steelers Talk, because I've been using their products for years, all right? Like, anybody that knows the men's shaving space knows that this is, it's an absolute disaster out there, all right? The quality products are always too expensive, and you always feel like you're draining your bank account to get these new products and to replenish your usage and all that different stuff. But then if you go on the cheaper end of stuff, you cut yourself, your skin gets irritated. It's not fun at all, but I love Harry's because they have a really good setup here where they have the reusable stem here where you can just replace the blade. So it's really affordable to be able to replenish your shaving needs, and it's really, really fantastic, guys. I cannot recommend it more. So for a limited time only, our listeners can get Harry's trial set for only $8 plus a free gift at harrys.com/chat. Just head on over to harrys.com/chat to receive our exclusive discount. After you purchase, they will ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them that we sent you. A big shout out to Harry's for sponsoring today's edition of Steelers Talk. All right, so now we can get to the starting offensive line that made this Steelers roster this year. Broderick Jones, Isaac Seumalo, Zach Frazier, Mason McCormick, and Troy Fautanu. We've known that this was going to be the case for a long time, but it's certainly good to see that this entire group is going to be going into the season healthy, it appears. But then the offensive line depth, Calvin Anderson does make the initial roster. He is not placed on IR, so he will be on the roster to start the season, so it seems like he's on the mend from his injury. Andrews Pete, I thought, had a really good preseason. A veteran player that knows what he's doing, can play both inside and out, showed off his ability to play tackle in the preseason. Spencer Anderson and Ryan McCollum round out the rest of the offensive line depth. Now, before we get into the defensive roster here and my reaction to that, make sure you guys click that thumbs up icon if you are excited for this season, man. Obviously this is one of the more exciting off seasons for the Pittsburgh Steelers in recent memory. I personally cannot wait to get this season started and see what these new players can do. If you're with me on that. Click that thumbs up icon to help out today's show. And now, what a little bit of a surprise here, guys. 8 defensive linemen make the Pittsburgh Steelers' initial 53-man roster. You've got your starters in Cam Hayward, Keanu Benson, and Derek Harmon. Y.A. Black is going to be asked to step up in these first few weeks with Derek Harmon dealing with an injury. But then Daniel Ekuale, Isaiah Loudermilk, Logan Lee, and Ezesi Otomiwu all make the initial roster here. I thought that it was going to be a decision between Ezesi and Logan Lee, but they end up keeping both here, which is definitely a lot for an NFL roster. We don't usually see this many interior defensive linemen make the initial roster. But then on the outside, at the edge rusher position, the outside linebackers, TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith, of course, is your starters. Nick Herbig is your rotational guy. And then Jack Sawyer, the rookie out of Ohio State, rounds out that group. Then you get to the inside linebackers. Patrick Queen and Peyton Wilson will be your every down starters. Cole Holcomb will rotate in to give Queenie and Wilson a rest at times. Malik Harrison will be a special team specialist and a good backup depth piece in case Queen, Wilson, or Holcomb get hurt. And then Carson Bruner kind of taking on that Mark Robinson type of role as a true special teamer and depth piece in the inside linebacker room. Then you get to the secondary, and this is where it gets a little bit hairy. They're only carrying 3 true safeties on this team, and one of them, Miles Killebrew, is a special teams ace. All right, so you only go into the year with Juan Thornhill and Deshaun Elliott as like true defensive safeties heading into the year. And they end up cutting Chuck Clark. Now, Chuck Clark is somebody to keep your eye on here. They might end up bringing him back, especially if they don't find a receiver that they want to add to this initial roster heading into the year. But, it's definitely interesting here that they're only going with 2 kind of true defensive safeties going into the season. But that probably also means that Jalen Ramsey, who kicks off the cornerbacks on the list today, is probably going to play more safety than you think. And if Thornhill or Deshaun Elliott goes down with an injury, that means Jalen Ramsey would probably make a full-time switch to safety, and they would just go with like Brandon Echols in the slot or potentially even Dante Kent. I mean, that's the other surprise here within the secondary, guys, that Dante Kent pretty much missed the entire training camp this year with a lower body injury, and he ends up making the initial 53-man roster. That's probably the biggest surprise of the day, but the Steelers have been very clear throughout this offseason that they're very high on Dante Kent, had a really good offseason program. They think that he's going to be maybe even the future at slot corner for this defense. And Brandon Echols, I mean, he had a phenomenal training camp in preseason, can play inside and out. So I honestly kind of like how the secondary is kind of shaped up right now, because you can put Ramsey outside, you can put him at safety, you can put him in the nickel where he's going to play most of his early snaps, but there's a lot of versatility with this group, which I really like heading into the year. And if you're wondering where Corey Trice Jr. is on this list, he didn't get cut, but he was placed on IR to start the season, so he will miss at least the first 4 weeks of the NFL campaign this year. Certainly seems like the Steelers still believe in his potential and want to keep him around. And then on special teams, Chris Boswell, the kicker, of course, beats out Ben Sauls. Then you got Corliss Waitman, a little bit of a surprise there, beating out Cameron Johnson for the starting punter role. Good for him. He had a phenomenal training camp and preseason. And then Christian Kuntz is going to be your long snapper. He has a little bit of an injury right now, but he is going to be on his way back for week 1, it appears. Now, some notable cuts, all right? Trey Sermon and Lou Nichols, 2 guys that some people wanted to make this team, but honestly, I didn't really see the room for them to make it. Hopefully, they can bring at least one of those guys back on practice squad, but Robert Woods has been released. You got Keshawn Williams, who ends up getting cut here. Brandon Johnson dealing with a foot injury. He also gets released here. We put Lou Nichols on there twice. My mistake there, guys. But then we got Dylan Cook, who they might bring back to practice squad. Cameron Johnson, who I'm sure is going to get claimed or signed to somebody here in the next couple days. DeMarvin Leal, former, pretty high draft pick for this football team. No longer, his chances have officially run out here in Pittsburgh. Mark Robinson, the inside linebacker, special team ace for this team for a long time. Carson Bruner has officially replaced his spot. Beanie Bishop Jr. was a little bit of a surprise. I think a lot of people wanted Beanie to make this team after getting 4 interceptions last year. He certainly had a nose for the football, but he was a little bit of a liability in coverage, and his smaller stature makes him a liability as a run defender as well. And then James Pierre had a really good preseason, really good training camp, multiple interceptions. Wasn't good enough to make this team, however. Chuck Clark, keep your eye on him. I think that, with with only carrying 3 safeties and only 2 that are true like defensive safeties. Could certainly see Clark be added to this team once again, or the Steelers to maybe look at safety help in the days to come. And then Sebastian Castro doesn't make this team either. Didn't really expect him to, but I'm hoping that he can maybe make the practice squad. I believe in his potential. I liked his film coming out of Iowa last year. So biggest surprise, let me know down there in the comment section. Which Steelers cut or keep was the biggest surprise for you? I think for me it was probably keeping Dante Kent after missing pretty much the entire preseason and training camp over Beanie Bishop Jr. That was a little bit of a surprise for me, but let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. The other surprise that I would probably point to is probably Chuck Clark. I thought for sure he was going to make this team, but apparently not. So let me know your guys' thoughts down there in the comment section. Definitely some surprises today on the initial 53-man roster, but I don't think Omar Khan is done just yet, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already, because if there's breaking news coverage, we are going to get that to you right here on the show. So without further ado, guys, that'll be it for today's edition of Steelers Talk by Chat Sports. If there's breaking news later, we will get it to you. Otherwise, I'll see you guys tomorrow. And until then, here we go, Steelers.